Storytelling Ron. Here's a rant. Homophobic. I'm homophobic and transphobic. Yes, I am. So when people say you're homophobic or transphobic, just say yes. Yes, I am. I live in Hollywood, and I have a bunch of neighbors that are homosexual, but I'm not afraid of them. But and I treat them like a neighbor with dignity, because I'm a Christian, and you love the enemy, and the enemy being anyone that disagrees with Christianity. To use hyperbole, but that's the great freeing thing of Christianity. And when Jesus said that, it was quite radical. Pagans don't believe in loving the enemy. They believe in defeating the enemy, conquering the enemy, enslaving the enemy, torturing the enemy. Romans were enslaving the enemy, defeating and enslaving the enemy. When Christ came through and said, "No, you have to love the enemy," that became very spiteful, right? We didn't want to do that. Human nature. We don't want to love people we hate who've destroyed our lives. But we gotta love the enemy. I don't want to love the enemy. I hate the enemy. I want to, but I'm a follower of Christ now, and so I get to sleep at night. I don't mull over the enemy. We disagree, and then I'm going to go home and have a meal and go to bed peacefully. So, homophobia or homophobic and transphobic, yes, I am, because, and I don't fear anything, but they're going to attack you, and they're not going to stop the agenda, the activism, the gays around here that I live with, they don't bother me at all, but and there's a bunch of pride flags around. 24/7, 365. But whatever. I'm still a neighborly person. I'm still gonna. We still want safety and blah 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 in the area. Anyway, but when it comes to politics and culture and social, so I don't want to get the reason here. Let me get to this. Okay, let me switch to this. I'll get to her. I don't want to get Gina Carano'd, right? Gina Carano'd is, the agenda is out there for homophobes or homophobia, or the LGBTQ agenda. So they wanted her, this is back, when she got fired. Literally a big star of a big show that was so wonderful and we all loved, and she was a big part of that. She still gets fired by the LGBTQTs. She gets fired by the LGBTQTs who are infested in the Disney hall corridors of Disney, and they get into any business in any church. They will get in there and like I've said before, and be and they're in on the set of The Chosen, and they're the most wonderful, loving people, and they care, and they're here, and they were born this way, and they don't, and they will cry, and they will get you to believe in them and support them and fight. And that's another thing that irks me about The Chosen's Dallas Jenkins saying he will stand in the breach, fight for them. But who's he fighting? He's fighting Christians. It's just like, because the guy was promoting a pride flag on the set. Anyway, so she was attacked, outed for just wanting to be herself. And they wanted to do a struggle session with 45 trans people on a Zoom call to torture her, just the way the Chinese communists did against anyone that stood up against communism. And to embarrass her, to shame her, they were going to record it. They were going to use clips from it. They were going to continually berate her. And she said no to that, thank God. And they fired her. And I know it broke her heart. And it was tough on her. She's recovered. She's gotten a lot of love, thank goodness. But that's how permeated they are in the cultures here in Hollywood. I think they're the new, faction who's going to take over, because gays will hire other gays. They will not hire you. They will hire other gays. And they probably hire other gays that they know from the last weekend that they all had a soiree. And yeah, another creepy thing is that I think, and this is just me, my opinion, but anecdotal, but I'm just basing it off of logic. HIV, I bet, is spreading, and it's not being reported. Here in California, they have a law now that you cannot report HIV. Like they're protected class if you have HIV. So you can spread it legally, purposely now here in California. Werner and the other gay activists, and there's a supermajority of Democrats, they've passed a law that actually shields. So COVID, no, you got to wear a mask, all that. But HIV, if you have HIV, no one can ask you, not even a sexual partner, and you cannot even be sued or brought charges up against you if you knowingly spread HIV to the other person. And they also have drugs now. They have two drugs that one is it suppresses the HIV, and another is that it supposedly reduces chances of spreading it. So you can take these two pills and feel good about yourself while spreading HIV. Because the one that says it doesn't spread HIV works 9 out of 10 times. So that means it still works. It's still going to spread. And by the way, those are done by the same people that do the COVID drugs. And those drugs are being paid for by our taxes. So their sin and the penalty of their sin, we're being forced to pay for it. So that's where we are today in this life. So now getting to this, Magic Moonshot. I don't know who this person is. It just came. I don't know how I found this, but anyway, she's creating a ladies Halo scrims, which is I don't know what a scrim is, but it's a group. It sounds like where they get to play, hang out and play games and do little competitions, round robin format, full teams, partial teams, free agents, welcome, no prize pool, just for fun practice. Okay, so she wanted to play and do this and that. And that's, for ladies to get them into the video games. And she then said, I am building out channels on my Discord for the ladies scrims on Saturday. I love and value all people. And as a Christian, I believe God created people in his image as male and female. And that Jesus says that. So therefore, I will not be allowing trans people to participate. And thankfully, these cool people are supporting her, Melanie Mack, the Quartering, Shadeless. But she gets attacked. She gets attacked. Disappointing, disheartening, unprofessional. And then they're going to go after her, whoever her sponsors are. These people are. It's pretty amazing how much people want to just go after you for being a Christian. I mean, it's not amazing, but and then this person just likes to talk about the hypocrisy of Christianity, and then even said some stuff about Jesus. Oh, Jesus said to love everybody. Well, Jesus said you're going to go to hell as well if you don't follow him, if you don't believe in him, and do what he's doing. So they seem to, there's obviously some bad words and insults. So that's where we're at in the society, where the sinners can come out in droves like a mob and attack you. And, they did that to Jesus. So that makes sense. And it makes sense what she's asking too, because, women, I'm going to, as a Christian man, I'm going to just come out and say it. Women are not as good as men in quick reaction type things. We are much more quick reaction hunters or whatever. I don't believe in the hunter-gatherer theory at all, but I do believe that, yes, I don't believe we evolved into that, but I do believe that, yes, men definitely have a more of a hunter mentality and women have more of a gathering mentality. I do kind of whatever that is, kind of makes sense, not in the evolutionary sense, but look here, this is some computer games. This is the only professional women's video game competition, and they get beat 52-2. They lost the 38 games in a row to the guys, to the the nerdy guys. This video is all about that here. It's pretty funny, but this guy does a whole expose on it, where are the women? Just to whatever. But they show these women, playing and just getting destroyed. 05 is their beginning, protein, so they totally get slaughtered. And then they even tried to say there was another team, but that team was a false whatever. Anyway, so there's no team. Of course, you can make a movie saying that they're, these sexist boys, and then they're going to make a girls team and then beat the boys. And, sure, you can do it. Liberals can do that. They can make a fake movie about a girl team that can actually do what guys do. But it just can't happen. It's not going to happen. And I'm not saying like girls can't play, but they just don't have the reaction time. They don't have the reaction time that guys have. In my medieval armor combat, the women don't have a reaction time. They don't have the joint strength. I can just tell physically when they put on armor, they're so slow and they're very weak. You can tell they're just tottering. And they don't have any sort of thunderous rage of power. And same with reaction time. So even in computer games, it's just scientifically proven they cannot do it. They cannot do what guys or boys do in computer games. Are there outliers? Maybe, but they would probably only be there for a little while and then go down, I mean, I remember reading about a special forces woman who was training to be special forces because they said, you can do it, G.I. Jane. And she had to finally fess up that no, she cannot do it. And she can do it for one day. And then the next day her body is utterly destroyed. Whereas the guys go out and do it again, every day. And they're stronger, faster. She wrote a long letter about it too. This was years ago, but it was pretty sad. And seeing dads encourage their girls to, and I'm one of them, so I'm guilty as charged, did the same thing. Seeing girls play with boys in sports like football is so pathetic. And I had my girls early on play with the boys in basketball for a little while. Obviously, so I wasn't that bad. Once I got to high school, I was like, let's switch over, or let's just do girls only. Because the boys then at that point, man, they were flying like gazelles, just going way up and floating in the air, whereas the girls were just do. And I wanted to see girls play against girls because I knew that their physicality was as such, and so that's how you see who really is excelling with the type of bodies that they had. So it's just pathetic to me to see guys, loser dudes, being trans, jumping in on women's stuff. It's pathetic, and we need to rebuke it as Christians. We need to call it out. Now, caveat, I will not call it out if I'm not really in that organization or group. Like if I'm not really a full participant in the thing, I'm not going to call it out. So in my medieval armor, there is one dude playing, locally that fights the girls, and the girls are all, ooh. And I'm like, but I'm not going to get anyone else in trouble, but it's just pathetic. And the trans is totally like winning whatever competitive thing he goes in, but the women they're all doing it. I'm barely there. I show up once in a while for some tournaments, but I don't really do the duels. I mean, he's only doing the duels with them. I don't. And the melee stuff for the girls is not really that often. They have those for the medieval armor combat. So I just do the medieval armor combat for the guys, and I occasionally do duels, but not really, not that often. It's not as fun as the melees. But I'm getting old and tired. So that's the only one interaction I've had where a trans has been in the sport, and I'm in California, so I don't really have a say. But I'm saying here, I'm not, I don't accept it. I don't believe in it. My girls are not in sports now, so there's not much to do there. So it's just sad. It's sad that we're being attacked. No, that's not sad. I mean, it's inevitable, I think, right? The Bible says it's inevitable. It's inevitable that this is going to happen. What is the solution? And I'm going to say, I have the solution. And most of you probably know this already. Go to church, support your church, but make sure your church, the pastor at your church, teaches the Bible, opens up the Bible, reads the Bible, teaches not from a pick and choose verses. Now they can do that on occasion, but the normal preaching should be that they do an entire section. And the reason I say that is because then they're conforming to the Bible's teachings and not to their own. They have to conform to the Bible teachings and read like a whole chapter or a large section and go through every verse of that section, explaining to you what's going on there, the historical context, the philosophical context, the modern day perhaps interpretation of it. What's going on there, what they're trying to say, what's the message of Christ or the apostles or the prophets. The reason is that the goal of the pastor is to teach you men how to read the Bible for yourselves and have Bible studies with other men, so that you can teach that to your wives and your children, and the women can have a Bible study with women only, I mean, there can be family, there can be groups too, whatever. I'm just saying sometimes there's going to be men only groups and women only groups, and then there's going to be regular groups. But those are obviously very defined. So that's the kind of church you need to go to. If the church is affirming homosexuality, no. Or the pride thing, that's ridiculous. That's a false church. Run away from that as fast as you can, because that's where the demons are going to show up in the end times. Do not go to a church where they just talk about, where it's a flashy show and they have where they just do themes. We're going to talk about love. We're going to talk about patience this week. We're going to talk about charity this week. We're going to talk. No, don't do those, because those type of Christians are just like they're picking and choosing what to teach you. You got to do one where the guy reads about Jesus' love and him condemning people to hell, because Jesus, I think, condemns people to hell more, or describes hell and talks about hell more than he does about salvation or something. I'm not sure what, not salvation, but one of the positives, like going to heaven or whatever. He talks more about the warning of hell than he does about heaven, something like that. A pastor told me that, in one of the sermons. That's the solution. We have to rebuild the church. We have to strengthen the church today and get our kids in there, get relatives to come in. We have to do that, because it's the only way we're going to get through this, survive this onslaught of paganism again. Oh, and if you want to play a role-playing game, Christmas and RPG, my For the Lord RPG is a fellowship, meant to help men and families play a game where you work on your fellowship, your edification. I'm still pretty bad at, I don't do like prayer with others, even my own family is annoyed by my dinner. I don't like to pray out loud. I'm like in constant prayer. So you're just interrupting me while I'm, from praying. But I don't like the whole group prayer stuff. I mean, I'm there, I listen, I enjoy it. I know it's for real. I absolutely believe in prayer. I believe in group prayer, together. I prefer to be the one that listens while they pray. And so when I GM too, I don't generally like to pray. I like to listen to what them pray. And I am working on the story and the setting as they're praying and listening to their prayer too. But I do want people to pray in the game. I want people to fellowship in the game, and I want them to evangelize in the game. That's the point. But also have fun. So anyway, that's my little jibba jab today about being homophobic. Yes, I'm homophobic and transphobic. So when people say you're homophobic, say, yes, I am. I'm homophobic. I'm very afraid of what the LGBTQ is going to do to me and Christians. I know you're not going to do anything to Islam. I know you're not going to do anything to Muslims, but I'm definitely afraid of you, is what you can do to us, Christians. All right. Remember the game of life. Roll holy dice.